Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to North America's Regional Championships. My name is Will Hall. I am joined by Big Z himself, Matej Zalakai, and this is round number 2. Welcome. Because we've got some pretty cool deck lists, but even better players in our feature match for round number 2. Matej, talk to me. Who are we going to be seeing, and what decks are they playing?
I mean, it looked like Chad was enjoying the 4/5 Call Legends, so we're gonna run that back, but we're gonna get a new aggro challenger and Bant Toxic. So
let's go.
That's gonna be fun.
You can't see on the camera, but I have a tattoo of a Frex's symbol. Let's go. I'm all about the Bant Toxic. I love seeing it. This is the format that realistically it's probably best in out of all formats. Hasn't really gained too many tools though, right? Obviously standard, there was one set with the with Toxic in it, but yet it's still staying around now, even though we've got the biggest card pool in standard we ever had. Is that like a hat off to how powerful the Toxic mechanic is?
I would also say it is powerful, but also like a metagame shift as well. Like the decks kind of slowed down a little bit, and that brought Toxic back because it's really good against some of the control decks because it's just like insanely fast and disruptive, can protect its creatures pretty well, you know. And Skrelv's Hive is also like a strong card that can be really difficult to deal for some decks. So it's a metagame choice. That's why it came back. I think people are going to be more ready this weekend though.
All right, that's Michael Zillies. Let's have a look what up against. Let's have a quick look at this 4-color Legends deck, where in the hands of Nicole, probably obviously managed to get to the PT, to have a really good run at the PT. Wants to get a little bit more PT go on her list. So bringing this weekend. Is there anything spicy here? Any changes from what you're used to?
Yeah, I mean, it's playing LSL Core rather than the Vile Smasher that's standard in the other builds. Also, 2 Shieldred in the main deck, as well as Tiny Bones and Goose Mother. So, few small different creature choices here for Nicole, but otherwise, the deck is fairly standardized, I would say.
Well, let's see it in action as we go down to our feature match here for round number 2. So the kicking off, there's a little panoramic view of the hall and the feature match area set up beautifully here, of course, live at Dreamhack. And, Nicole on the play, how big is that going to be in this matchup?
Always big. I think this format being on the play is just absolutely massive. In this matchup, it's also kind of fun to see, like the interaction is like, hey, Toxic wants to attack, but these legend decks have so many random blockers, right? Between Rona and Inti and Rutstein, like, it can be pretty difficult for Bant Toxic just to get through. So it's going to be a nice kind of battle trying to figure out like how to get through everything. And I think Michael has already decided it's like, okay, I'm gonna go wide if you're gonna play blockers.
Skrelv Hive, the 2-mana enchantment entering the battlefield. So in our upkeep, we will make a 1/1 might with Toxic 1 that cannot block. But if our opponent becomes corrupted, of course, corrupted mechanic means that they have 3 or more poison counters. That means the corrupted is online and all our creatures will gain lifelink. Very good in the aggro sort of matchups, but not so great in this one. It might become apparent, but not the super powerful one. It's on the back. What Michael's deciding here is we are going wide. That is the task we're going to take, and let's see how well that goes.
Yeah, and great start for Nicole. Turn 2 Rona into turn 3 Relic of Legends. Relic together with Rona is just a really nice way to being able to play out a lot of things, and having Rona in play already makes all your channel length one cheaper. So I think it's perfect place to be here for Nicole here, especially if she has some more action in hand.
And we say aggro deck, Bant Toxic. It wants to turn its creatures sideways to get a load of that toxic damage across, but does have other ways to win, right? As one of them hits the battlefield right now. Talk to me about this sort of powerful combo and how it can be used alongside a March.
I mean, Venerated Rot Priest is a key part of the deck, not just being a 1-mana, creature with Toxic, which is always going to be good in these sorts of decks. But also whenever one of Michael's creatures gets targeted by a spell, an opponent gets a poison counter. And so this is kind of like a small combo with the blue March, right? And so that can just mean that he's going to be able to inflict a lot of poison counters on the opponent. There's also a Fading Hope, though, on the Rona in response to the loot trigger, and Michael gets to scry because Rona does cost 2.
Yeah, and it plays a lot very tempo-orientated kind of match, don't they, these Bant Toxic decks? Normally, you want a kill spell to get a creature off the battlefield, but we just want to bounce things back kind of time walk you as much as we can so we can start getting this chip damage in, because the later the game goes, the more chance that we can get there with Rot Piece and some of the other spells we've got in our decks that have proliferate. But yeah, currently no toxic has happened, no poison counters are around, so all these proliferate triggers that we might get in the future are not going to be used to their full effect just yet.
And but we saw Michael's hand, and it's not very good. There's an Ettercore Waste and a Mirex. Mirex can be nice to just really go wide with the board and really get a lot of mites in play. But he really doesn't have any other action going on. If Nicole now, gets she was able to replay the Rona, and now thanks to the relic, she starts putting more blockers there. Ooh, look at that! The Goose Mother.
What?
Goose on the loose.
Do we usually see that in these full color Legends decks?
But also a slow Gurg as well. That's super nice here. So I think Nicole just played the Goose Mother as a 2-mana 2/2, so didn't get any foods here because she wanted kind of to optimize the mana, play out her board, and now she not only has Rona untap, but also slow Gurg. So it might seem like there's not much mana available to Nicole, but she actually has quite a few things that she can be doing. She can really pop off even at the end of Michael's turn.
So talk to me about like the little synergies that we saw there with the Relic of Legends and the Rona, and just how we're able to tap her for multiple mana in that last turn.
I mean, Rona says that whenever you cast a legendary creature, you can untap her. So you tap her with Relic of Legends because it has that line of text that you can tap a legend to generate mana. So then when you play the legendary creature, you untap Rona. Means you can generate more mana, or you can use it for the looting ability, even though I will say the Rona does have summoning sickness right now. Oh, and looks like Michael has had enough. He's attacking.
All right, we're getting in there, and looks like we're going to block 2 of these, take 1. We do have a way of dealing with one of these with is it? Come on,
Aganjo,
that's the one. Yeah.
Yes.
So now we might have
there we see it. They're already tapping the slow Gurg to go for a Takenuma activation because it only costs 1 because he already has 3 legends in play. Mills 3 lands.
So this 4 damage basically is just negated for 1 mana in that turn. Still going to be able to eat up this Rot Priest. Still going to have our might eaten up. Just 1 point of damage and toxic going to be dealt here. That is not how Michael wanted this attack phase to happen.
Yeah, that was rough. But I think even if Michael had attacked and Nicole hadn't blocked, with that Takenuma in play, it already means that Nicole is going to go start churning through cards there. She also has, I think, another Takenuma in hand. Maybe I think I saw an Honest Rutstein as well.
It's only turn 4, turn 5, and it's so much value, so many cards left in hand. Plus, obviously, we're able to utilize our graveyard and all the channel lands. We know how good they can be. Just being able to kind of reoccur them all the time. And over on Michael's side, just sat there, 1 card in hand. We know it's a land. This hive ticking down each turn might not be able to go wide quick enough to be able to close this game down. But it is on Nicole to manage to finish this game before that does happen to give Michael a chance to get back in this match. 4 mana for Shieldred. That's going to close the game down sooner rather than later.
Yeah, not a good card. It's also a blocker, right? Like the life gain is not that particularly relevant, but...
Here's an attack for 7. No blockers on the other side. Remember, those mites cannot block. They are just 1/1 artifact creatures with toxic 1. So now in upkeep, we're going to go down to 10. This might be Michael's last turn, and depending on what this card's going to be. Big top deck. It is
Seed Core.
Yeah, that's not what we want.
Just a brutal turn, but I think honestly, there's not much that Michael could have done there. Even if he had waited for 1 more turn, right? Like got an extra Mirex token, or try to attack. Then I think it would have he would have been in a rough shape as Nicole would have started to just use Takenuma together with the slow Gurg and just play out more cards. So
okay, well here's the 75 that Nicole bought this weekend. Remember, it is open deck list, the regional championship, so both players have access to each other's decks and can see what's in the sideboard, what's in the main, and kind of this is where the guessing game happens of, okay, I think they're going to bring these in against me. I'll do this. I'll try to change that up. What would you review in Nicole with this deck? What cards do you like bringing in?
Yeah, I'm looking at Path of Peril. I'm looking at Glistening Deluge, just those sweepers, just to make sure that the board doesn't get too wide. And I think she can safely probably cut down on some of the go for the throws and maybe some of the more expensive creatures. I think primarily she wants to establish a really solid board position.
Okay, let's have a look at the other deck. Let's look at Michael's list. This Bant Toxic, of course, now going to be on the play, which we spoke about how good, how key that could be, especially for aggro decks like Bant Toxic. We're a game down. We need to win 2 on the bounce. What do you like bringing in here?
It's just it's tough to say. Like there's, I would imagine Annex Sentry is going to come down because it can deal with a bunch of the permanents that the Legend deck is facing. Maybe Charge of Mites could be nice as well, but in this deck it's also sideboarding is a bit difficult. So yeah, I there's just going. I think it's going to be just small change to bring out the Spell Pierces and maybe to bring the endings to put in the Sentries and the Charge of Mites. Let's see though.
All right, let's see indeed. Let's get down for game number 2 here. Round number 2, remember, over 1,200 players battling out in the room today. And this broadcast is being brought to you by the amazing people at Heavy Play. You can see the ETB playmats that they're playing on now. These are hard, rigid playmats. So you can fold them up, put them in the back of your day sack. You don't actually have to roll them up. My playmats are always getting bent out of shape, but having nice rigid ones like these. Plus, if you ever get that awkward situation when you're, in between 2 tables in a tournament, this solves it. Your cards are not going to go anywhere. Great play mats. Thank you very much, Heavy Play. As we are off to the races, Jawbone on the battlefield, double strike plus toxic. Pretty cool, combination of cards to have on one. Well, it doesn't matter. It's going to go to the graveyard, but it's a cool combination to have on one creature.
Yeah, I mean it's already bad news for Michael, not just because his job on Duelist got killed by Long Goodbye, but also because he mulliganed to 5 and his hand was not great. I think he has Bring the Ending and maybe a Fading Hope here, but he has no pressure here, and that's just going to give the Legend deck so much time to develop a board. There's a Slowbird that's going to get countered on site.
Little wins, little victories. Obviously, this is what we want to be doing while we have some sort of toxic creature on the battlefield, so we can start getting the chip damage in while dealing with the tempo play, as in countering, bouncing the threats on the other side. Skrove going to come down here though. Powerful Legend works good when you've got other creatures on the battlefield. Ooh. And again, just more value getting generated every single time. We get to return that. 1 mana, because obviously now creatures pay 1 less. Here comes an NT on the battlefield. It's just the more I see this deck, the more I feel like I'm not smart enough to pilot it, but there's so many like cool synergies of cards happening with this. End of the turn, we're going to bounce the NT back to hand, get a Scry, because it does have CMC 3 or less. Didn't like that card, so it's going to go to the bottom. Untap for Michael, and looking for a big top deck. Spell Pierce might not be it.
I'm not a big fan of Spell Pierce. Maybe Michael brought that in to just fight the sweepers from Nicole's side of the board. But it can also counter a Relic, which could be pretty nice in the early turns. But this is exactly the situation where you don't really want to get with Bant Toxic. And I think Michael knows that he's really rough shape. And this is kind of the thing with the Legend deck. Sometimes you just, I'll kill your turn to play to get some tempo. And then they honest Ratin it back. And you just feel like you're really behind. And so and this deck is just super resilient against these sorts of things.
Yeah. And of course, our creatures being 1 less to cast means that we're able to deploy a huge battlefield as well. You mentioned the sweepers; they're really good against these Bant Toxic decks once they actually have creatures on the battlefield. Something that Michael is struggling with. I believe that's because of a mulligan to 5 here in game 2. Not what you want when you're game down in round number 2, but. Big top deck, just another Marax. Again, the ability to go wide and make mites that don't block. This is not going well for him as we have to pass the turn back. 3 legendaries means that this Tokonama is going to cost 1. We're going to mill the top 3, return a creature to our hand.
There's still an NT trigger though first, so it's exile a card.
So many triggers.
Yep. So.
No creature to return there, though, but it did end up generating a few +1/+1 counters, which at this point is probably what we need, right? We just want to close this game down.
Yeah, she did forget an NT trigger when she attacked with the Honest Ratin last turn. So as you can see, this deck can be really difficult to pilot, even if you're really experienced. You still might miss these small things here and there. And I've actually tried it when testing for our regional championship over in Europe. And the deck can be a lot of fun to play, but it's also so easy to just not play optimally. Like you can play it decently well, but there's so many different lines that you have to be aware of. Doesn't forget the Inti trigger this time around. Finds another land though with the Inti trigger, but already Slogger gone 3 counters, and that's not a place where you want to be with 3 lands in a graveyard too.
Slugger's just such a cool card. There's so many cool mechanics in it. We've seen it multiple times now. We're only in round number 2. People trying to get off the battlefield, and then the shenanigans happening of we start retiring all these lands. But we're going to play the token from Exile member from Inti. That's going to be our land for the turn.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just what we got: 2 cards in hand. I think 2, maybe 3, but definitely in the driving seat here. Michael at 7 might only have one more turn, one more top deck to try and get out from underneath this rut that we are currently in. Might generate at end of turn.
Bant is not really known to be a deck that can really turn the games around. I mean, I think he just drew an Aspirant's Ascent, which can give a creature +1/+3 flying in Toxic 1. So I think he can deal like maybe 3 Toxic here.
That is nowhere near enough.
Without the Rot Priest in play, right? Like it's really not that great.
Do we have a March? Would a March save us for a turn? And potentially if we can chain multiple Marches off?
But I don't think he has March. I think he has Spell Pierce, Aspirant's Ascent. Maybe the last card is March. Yeah,
I think the last card is March. Yeah,
let's have a quick look. You were right. You were right.
These camera angles, love to see it. Hand cam. Shout out to the production team.
Love it. This US coverage setup is pretty nifty, I have to say. It's my first time, and I'm loving what I'm seeing. Hopefully, Chad agrees.
I hope you're loving the magic as well. Obviously, I'm a toxic enthusiast, and I'm not enjoying seeing the beat down here, but I am loving watching all these, the deck being piloted extremely well here by Nicole on the left of your screen. This is round number 2, so both players are currently 1-0. It looks like we are just going to fire this off as you were speaking about. Try and get something going, get an extra toxic added to it. So now it's got flying. We can get in there with it. Is there a shout that maybe we do this, we attack, and then if NT was to block, we do it in response, or is that too cute?
Maybe.
Are we just clutching at straws at this point?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
All right, toxic. Some damage is going to happen. 2 toxic is going to also happen. 1 toxic from the creature, 1 extra toxic from the spell. Now here's the end step.
Yeah, I think now the Skrull is going to get Besaged, and there's more triggers coming.
Enter on the battlefield with these channel lands, which obviously are discard, meaning you can even turn and burn a little bit more. Look, every time we discard one of our lands, more counters get added. It's just, it's beautiful to see, but oh my word, would I not want to be on the other end of this? This is a one-sided beatdown currently. Michael does get a land though, so small victories. And when I say small victories, I mean minute victories. It's beautiful island though. So you're winning the island game. You're winning the basics game right now, in my opinion. Top deck. It was a blue card. Didn't get a good look at it, but I think we're going to go to combat and some triggers. Are we meant to use this March before combat so these triggers don't happen?
Probably yes, but maybe Michael wants to see more things being added to the board as well. But he's going to have to use it anyway. He's only on 7. He's already taken so much damage.
Well, the bottom creature's lethal. The top 2 combined are lethal. So,
yeah. I mean, Slogger is already an 8/8 just all by himself.
Crazy. So we do have enough mana to be able to phase out 3 of these with the March. But then it's like, oh, that's great. I survived another time. But what else can I do? Do I have to continuously rip Marches? But we can give this hex proof, so it can't be phased out. There's the handshake. Nicole Tibble is going to take this down 2-0. Congrats to our winner. So we're going to head back to the booth because I believe that we've actually got a winner's interview there, so we can kind of see what Nicole's thoughts are in that matchup and just in general in this tournament as we're going to pass it across to Tan and Grace.
Hey everybody, welcome back down to the feature match area here at Dreamhack Dallas, brought to you by Heavy Play. I'm Tanner Grace, I'm joined by Nicole Tipple here. Now Nicole, your story over the last few months of the RCs and the Pro Tours it's got to be my absolute favorite. So we saw you in at the regional championship in Denver. Yeah. You'd been playing Modern for all of about 9 days. You'd barely played your deck. You go there, you qualify for the Pro Tour there. That was a great story in and of itself. Then we get to the Pro Tour, you finish 11th. Playing the deck that you're playing today, 4-color Legends, and here you are today at 2-0. Has this been as a wild wind ride for you as it has been for us at home that have kept up with this?
Yeah, I can tell you that I definitely didn't expect this to happen. Qualifying for the Pro Tour at my first RC was already something that was very shocking for me. And then I anticipated doing very poorly at the Pro Tour. I had a lot of team members that were really trying to build my confidence for me. And I remember after day one being 6-2 and seeing like what my draft pod was going to be, and I was like, I guess I'm really here. And it's still, I don't think it's hit me yet. We'll see. Maybe Amsterdam will do it, but I'm just having fun playing Magic.
Yeah, and you were talking about you are having fun. Like today, like look, if you win, you win, but you're here having some fun. You're playing the deck that you already know. You didn't have to do a ton of testing for it because you already did for the Pro Tour, because you're kind of looking to the future. You're looking at Amsterdam, but you're playing this cool 4-color Legends deck that you had finished 11th at the Pro Tour with, and you've made some changes to it as well.
Yes, yeah, I took so we expected a lot more Esper Legends at the Pro Tour, so that's what the 2 Titanias were for. I think Titania is probably like an average Magic card, so I decided I didn't want to play it anymore. I had cut to 1 before the weekend, and then yesterday, right before deck submission, I was talking to Nathan Stoyer, who's also playing Legends this weekend, and he was like, okay, well, this Titania card's pretty average, and he was registering 2 Shieldred. I said, okay, what do you think about me cutting Titania for Shieldred? And he said, if you cut Titania for Shieldred, I'll cut Titania for Tiny Bones. And Tiny Bones is my favorite Magic card, so that was a done deal, and it was sold. So I registered 2 Shieldreds this weekend.
Yeah, I remember seeing you play Tiny Bones and getting so excited about it every time you got to put it into play. Even like at the Pro Tour, you were just so excited to put it into play and stuff. It was awesome to see. So how's your day been going? You're 2-0. How are your matchups looking at in Standard now? You know, it's changed a little bit over the last little bit. And where do you think this deck fits right now in the Standard metagame?
So I think after the Pro Tour, I was anticipating the deck to get a little bit worse because a big part of the deck is that it's very difficult to interact with. And at the Pro Tour, you know, very few people knew what our deck did. It was kind of a breakout weekend. And so I was expecting people to get a little bit better at playing against Legends, but I think over the past couple weekends, you know, other RCs and stuff, it's proven to show pretty resilient to that. I think the deck's really, really strong. We talked about, like, if I wanted to play at a Pro Tour, I had an option to play fair decks or unfair decks, and the 2 unfair decks in the format being this and Analyst. And I had a very hard time believing I was going to register a fair deck when I could play something that was unfair. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. I got to go with unfair when I can as well. Nicole, thank you for the time. You're doing really well in the tournament. Hopefully we get another great run from you this weekend.
We'll see. Just play Magic.
Yep.